right, so he's showing great regulation by being able to lower his head back down after I ask him to do this thing that's a little scary. So this is an acceptable amount of stress to show your horse to have them overcome something scary. He's coming right back down into relaxation after every single repetition. If you're doing something that your horse finds a little bit scary and they're getting more and more heightened and more stressed after each repetition, so let's say his head level stays up there, he doesn't blink, he's frozen, he goes into a little bit of a freeze mode. Maybe his ears get really stiff, then we would be exposing him to too much stress to handle. But an important concept that I'd like you to keep in mind is that growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. So we've got to actually expose our horses to a little bit of stress in order for them to truly learn from that situation. Hey everybody, welcome to another session with Sundancer. We've got another evening session today, so let's see if he's doing better in the evenings now that I've been doing this a couple days here and there. All right, we're going to start with me being up high. Good. He stepped over the bucket a little bit here. Good. And this is such a big improvement from the first few times of me standing up on the bucket. He is hanging on to a little bit of anxiety about this, as you can see by his head level raising here. So I might just mix in a little bit of regular touch just to ease his mind a little bit about it. Good. Okay. And this is very good preparation for him being started under saddle, because my leg is touching him on one side, on this side, and my arm is touching him over on the other side. So he's getting touched on both sides at the same time, and also seeing me up high and on both sides. A lot of times people leave out bridging the gap between being around your horse on the ground and being up high, and they'll just work with the horse on the ground, do their groundwork, which is great, but then they'll just hop on and the horse loses it, of course, because they have never seen you up high. And due to what we know about horses not having categorical perception, that makes you an entirely new experience in the horse's brain. They can't rationalize, oh, that's just Courtney up high. They can't do that. Their brains just aren't structured that way like ours are. Back. Back. Good. Very good. So this is a crucial step in any riding horse's career. Ask him to come forward. A little bit more. Right there. Good. He was much more relaxed that time, so that will be all that we do with that today. Back. Back. Hey. Back. So the answer about evening training is yes. Back. Back. So in that instance, if you don't reward them for behavior like that, that behavior is not going to continue, okay? So I didn't reward him until he backed up, like I was originally asking. So he didn't get any kind of reward for that pawing behavior. And if he gets in my space here, I might just get him out by stomping my feet. He is definitely a little bit more antsy when we do evening sessions. That's okay though. He knows it's time for dinner. Good. Stand. Good. Come on. I guess we need to work on messing with this buckle while the halter is on him in shorter durations. Good. All right, that was much better. And this might be something that I add in, just adjusting and messing with things here. So he gets used to feeling that as well. Very good. All right. So next we're going to start off with our neck rope. And this is our shorter version of the lead rope, which is still just a slight bit scary for him. So this is just a good medium for us to work with. Good. Now, if you'll notice, when I put this over him, his head level raises, but as soon as I take it away, his head level drops back down. He doesn't stop chewing, he doesn't stop blinking throughout this, and his ears are still swiveling. So the head level is telling me that he is feeling a little bit of stress about this rope being on his body. However, he is showing very awesome self-regulation after each time when he's able to lower his head back down on his own. Back, back, back. See, no pawing. All right, so he's showing great regulation by being able to lower his head back down after I ask him to do this thing that's a little scary. So this is an acceptable amount of stress to show your horse to have them overcome something scary. He's coming right back down into relaxation after every single repetition. If you're doing something that your horse finds a little bit scary and they're getting more and more heightened and more stressed after each repetition, so let's say his head level stays up there, he doesn't blink, he's frozen, he goes into a little bit of a freeze mode. Maybe his ears get really stiff, then we would be exposing him to too much stress to handle. But an important concept that I'd like you to keep in mind is that growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. So we've got to actually expose our horses to a little bit of stress in order for them to truly learn from that situation. As long as we're keeping them under threshold and we're not creating trauma, then it's okay. All right, we'll just try this little rope around his legs a little bit. Front legs only for the time being. As you can see, he's all right with that. Okay, now we've done our short rope. Let's try with our longer rope and see how he feels about that. Good. Very nice. Notice again how that head just goes right back down as soon as I remove this rope. Good. Very good. We'll do one or two more repetitions on this side, and then we'll head over to the other side. That one was very good. He did not get nearly as worried about it as the first few repetitions. We'll wait. Good. We don't want him to think that turning around to smell me is the correct answer, so I left the rope sitting over his back until he put his head back forward. Good. I went a little bit further back with the rope that time, so his head did raise up a little bit more, but overall he was still okay with it. Good. Good. All right, now we'll just try this rope on the front legs a little. Good. You saw him lean away, so we don't want to add too much pressure, so I only did it once. Good. A lot of times the legs are a very tricky place for a horse to learn to be okay with touch. So we want to make sure that we get them nice and comfortable with it, because you never know when something's going to happen and say part of your tack is dangling, or maybe they step through a fence, or any kind of accident. I've seen a lot of posts about people leaving their halters tied to a fence stand, and the horse that's tied next to the halter just dangling from the fence gets their leg caught in the halter, and they need to be able to be calm in those kinds of sticky situations. I like that big exhale we just got. Now let's see about this again. Much better reaction that time. So that's going to be it with putting that over him for today. And now we're going to work a little bit on the saddle pad. It's very exciting. We're getting close to working on saddling. But it's very important that we get him super, super comfortable with all of this equipment before we move on to anything else. So all I'm doing here is I'm touching him, I'm clicking, and I'm removing the saddle pad immediately. And this repetition of the saddle pad going on and off reassures him that this is not something that is there to attack him. Okay? Another mistake that I commonly see people making is that they will only get their horse used to the saddle pad going into the place where it's supposed to go on the back, so right here. Then, down the road, if something happens while you're in the middle of tacking up your horse and the saddle pad slides up or down or back or to the side, the horse freaks out. So it's also important that we get them used to feeling it on different areas of their body. So once Sundancer is completely comfortable with this saddle pad being in the middle of his back, we will begin moving it up and down his body. The more that we can expose him to in training, the better off he's going to be in the real world. Very good. He stopped chewing there, so I'm going to note that. He was looking off in the distance, so it's hard to say if he saw something or if that was about me. Okay, he stopped chewing that time as well. But his head level is not going up, so he's not super stressed about it. Might just ask him to put his head through. A lot of times if you can get the horse used to putting a scary thing on their head, when you go to put it on their body, they're going to be a lot more comfortable with it because their head is a very vulnerable place. And if their head was safe touching it, chances are they understand that their body's going to be safe touching it as well. Okay, so now we are actually going to clip on our lead rope and work on a little bit of leading and responding to pressure on the face. Okay, so let's see if he'll bend around this way. Good. Took him a second, but that's all right. There we go. Now let's try the same thing this direction. Good. Good job. Good. Stand. Good. Okay, let's see if we can ask him to back. Back. Good. You see, he thought about pawing. He thought twice. And he said, oh yeah, that's not the right answer. This is the right answer. And he took a step back. That's awesome. And that's exactly how we curb these bad habits that these guys could sometimes develop. If we don't foster them, chances are they're not going to develop into something dangerous. Back, back, back. Now, we're not worried about how pretty the backup looks right now. We're just worried on the fundamentals of him responding to pressure. We'll straighten it up and make it pretty later on. Right now, it's more important that he understands what we're going for. Good. Very good. All right, now let's see about some turns. Good. Very good. Now I'm putting just a very, very slight amount of pressure on his face. I'm not even clamped on this lead rope. I'm just holding it with a couple of fingers very loosely, just so he gets the feel of it. Good. Come on. Good. And we'll just make a lap or so here. Good boy. Good. 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 And you can see how he's kind of figuring out that pressure there. He'll stop and he'll feel a little bit of pressure, and then he says, oh yeah, this is the way. And then he'll stop, and then he'll feel it, and then he'll come up with the right answer. So this is just the learning process, and like I've said 100 times, training is not linear. So we're gonna have ups and downs. That was very good. That was a good amount of steps without him checking on that pressure at all. So some days might look better than others, but this is the learning process and the learning curve. Good. Good. And we want to get the correct answers and responses to pressure down before we take him on any adventures out of the pasture, so that he has this framework and these neural wirings to look back on and know what it is that he's supposed to do when he feels pressure. That was very good. Very good, bud. Good. Good. Oh, that was very nice. All right. And often straight lines are the hardest part for a horse to get while learning how to lead. Oh. You'd think it would be curves, but really it's not. It's kind of easy to turn here and ask that they come around. In fact, that's what we began working on first, if you remember, when we started introducing the pressure while leading. So that's definitely what I recommend. But then after that, you can begin working on some straight lines. Very good. And a lot of trainers that you'll see out there with Mustang content, you'll have a thumbnail of them propped up, pulling on the horse, and the horse is set back and freaked out. You can see the whites of their eyes. They're pulling back on the halter with all their might, and it's almost this battle between human and horse. But what I wish that people would understand about that kind of training is that you're really just creating a lot of trauma for that horse to work through in the future before they can be fully relaxed around your equipment, because you're creating pain with the halter and the lead, which makes them resistant to it. Whereas if we teach them with kind and empathetic methods, we can get much better results and not have trauma in the future to work through. Oh, back. Back. That was good. He tripped over the bucket but still listened. So, moral of the story is take your time, do it correctly, make the horse feel comfortable and confident, and you will be rewarded with a willing partner that is down to do whatever you like in the future, and you'll be able to truly depend on them. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'd be happy to help. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next video.
Across America, wild Mustangs are losing their freedom at an unprecedented rate. In 2022 alone, 15,000 Mustangs were torn from their homes. Of the 3,000 Mustangs lucky enough to be adopted each year, many will end up in kill pens waiting for someone to save them before they board a truck to Mexico to be slaughtered. These beautiful animals deserve so much better, and you can help them. I'm Courtney Hardy, the founder of Nirvana Mustang Sanctuary. We have lots more land available that is already dedicated to these Mustangs who deserve a second chance. But the property is currently fenced with barbed wire, which is not safe for wild Mustangs. We need your help to replace this old barbed wire with strong 6-foot-tall Mustang-safe fencing, like the fences you see here used in our initial pasture. By donating just 1 or 2 foot of fence, you can be their hero, and we can save many of these beautiful souls from slaughter and allow them to live out their days in sanctuary.